Hello, and welcome to So You Think You Can Rule Persia, the podcast where we rate and review all the kings of Persia from Diocles to Yazdegerd III. I'm Serial, and my pronouns are they, them.
And I'm Umberto, my pronouns are he, him. Hello, and welcome to episode 16, which is to say Artaxerxes IV. We've had so many Artaxerxes right now, and we still get one more. Hooray.
Right, one more Artaxerxes, the fourth.
Yes, although this choice of name makes more sense than the previous one, because at least Artaxerxes III was cool.
Yeah, listen, maybe it was in fashion. We don't know.
Could be. We don't know. It might happen. But yeah, so how much do you remember from last time, where we recently gave a Shahanshah after a while that we hadn't given any out?
Yeah, right. Last episode was quite interesting. I liked Artaxerxes III much more than I thought I would. Because overall, I didn't think it would be that interesting, but then so much happened. I was very surprised. It was a very fun episode, honestly, so, you know.
Yeah, a lot of things went well for once, which is always positive.
Yeah, and I enjoyed myself. I learned a lot, and the empire is no longer crumbling, or at least not so much. And it's kind of, would you say it's stable right now?
Definitely more stable than under Artaxerxes II.
Exactly.
But if you consider having your last king murdered stable, that's... It's not ideal. Things have gone better.
All right, I'll accept that.
Yeah, so what are your expectations for Artaxerxes IV?
Well, this young man now has to, I guess, consolidate what we got, because because Artaxerxes III did a pretty good job at that. Like, that's the whole point, is that the empire was more stable because,
so good.
Not only did he reclaim some of the territories that we had lost previously, but also actually put effort into making sure that it wouldn't crumble again, and we wouldn't have so many problems with like a big empire and managing all that. So really, Artaxerxes IV just has to continue in his father's footsteps. Father, I'm assuming. I don't know what things will happen, but I seem to remember. And hopefully we'll be fine. I mean, I don't know. It also depends what the people around the empire are thinking of doing.
Yeah.
And if they get all high and mighty and say, well, Artaxerxes III is not there anymore, so let's strike again. But we are at a good starting point, right? So anything that happens now...
a good baseline.
We will see.
Yeah, if Artaxerxes can make the best of it, can improve things, or will make things worse, or will just keep things going stably.
I'm curious. Let's get into it.
All right. Yes, so let's start. So Artaxerxes IV was born sometimes in the 350s BC, and his birth name was Arses.
Yes.
Which means something related to male or manly, that sort of
It
name.
seems like a nickname for Artaxerxes. I like it. It's a shortened version.
I think it would work, honestly.
Yeah.
It would be pretty good for a short Artaxerxes. Hey. But yeah, as you mentioned, he's the youngest son, actually, of Artaxerxes III and his wife/relative Atossa. And he managed to gain the throne despite his late position in the line of succession. Because, well, if you'll remember last time, in 338, the eunuch Bagoas murdered Artaxerxes III and all the rest of his male sons, except for Arses, who was then crowned as Artaxerxes IV. But, of course, Bagoas, our proud eunuch, is going to make sure that Artaxerxes IV makes all the correct decisions, or at least according to Bagoas. So we'll see if Bagoas' advice is any good, and if Artaxerxes can be any more than just a puppet. Which
correct.
You don't want to be, generally.
He got to the throne pretty young? Or no? I don't know if you've mentioned it. I spaced out for a second, so I don't know.
He got to the throne young-ish. I mean, he's the youngest son of Artaxerxes III, but he is also young in general. Like, we're not sure what exactly his age is.
Okay.
We know that he's not a child, definitely.
All right.
He's old enough to be considered... not exactly an adult, but capable of ruling.
All right. Well, because you were saying, oh, you don't want him to be a puppet. I'm like, well, is he another teen ruling or what?
Yeah, you'll notice that we haven't had a child ruler ever.
Yeah.
Because it's not a thing that they do. It's just, the person ruling has to rule.
Exactly, yeah.
And yeah, with Artaxerxes IV, It's unclear how old he is exactly, but he's generally just described as a young man.
All right, so maybe younger than...
It could be late teens, early 20s, somewhere in that area.
But with enough autonomy to actually properly rule and not have to use the direction of someone else.
Yes, officially at least.
Yeah, officially.
Practically, Bagos is behind a curtain whispering.
Yes, because we had a whole thing with Bagos, I forgot. The eunuch.
Yeah, so we'll just recap quickly a bit of what Bagos did.
Yes,
how did he get to this position, and how are we doing? So Bagos, as we mentioned, was a eunuch. We're not sure where exactly he came from, where he emerged from. Basically, we know that he became important during the reign of Artaxerxes III, where he is an important advisor and the general leading most of the Achaemenid forces during the invasion of Egypt.
Right.
So, yeah, if you remember that, he managed to conduct the invasion of Egypt well and efficiently, together with the Greek mercenaries. And in exchange for having done this great service for Artaxerxes III, Bagos was made an important advisor for the empire, and he was actually specifically given supreme command over the eastern satrapies, with the goal of reordering them all to, ensure that, to reinvigorate the empire and put everything back in order with the whole reorganization of Artaxerxes III.
So a fair amount of power, but, deserved and needed, which might have gone to his head a little bit, I guess.
Yeah, he managed to climb to the top through his merits, ostensibly. But, it seems that he got enough of a taste for power that he decided that he wanted more of it. And, well, since he's a eunuch, he can't be king himself, but puppets are always comfortable to use.
Exactly, it's an easier way to get to it. And so he... Am I forgetting? Did he plot the assassination of the king, Artaxerxes III?
Yes, he did. And this is what Bagos does. So once he is at the height of his power in 338, he decides to poison Artaxerxes III.
Right, yes.
And all of his sons, except the youngest one, who is the most impressionable and easy to manipulate.
Everything is coming back now. I'm remembering everything. Sorry, I did not take many notes last episode. I was paying attention. Listen, I was paying attention, but I was not writing because I was paying attention.
You were in the moment.
Exactly.
You were there. And yeah, so Bagos now has managed to stabilize the political situation because, well, there are no other brothers who can oppose Artaxerxes IV. The throne is secure and everything is great. So hooray, Bagos can get to rule for a long time.
Ooh. Interesting.
However, this succession crisis is at a bit of a poor moment for the empire because a number of reasons. Because firstly, it deprives the empire of a capable king in Artaxerxes III, who had done a great job, was consolidating things, was reinitiating building projects and all that. And now he's gone, so all his reform projects aren't really finished. He didn't have the time he needed to do everything. So that's not ideal, especially since there's been like 50 years of instability. Artaxerxes III had like 10 years to try and patch things up.
Yeah. And he did incredibly well, but I bet people still remember. So.
Yeah. And also, another issue with this succession crisis is that, well, now Artaxerxes IV is the only Achaemenid in 2 generations.
Oh no. Yeah, that's true.
Because, if you remember, all of Artaxerxes III's children were killed by Bagos.
Yes. So
all of Artaxerxes II's children were killed by Artaxerxes III.
Yes, because reckless.
Because yes. And so we need to go to all the children of Darius II. That is the only side of descendants that is still around.
Ooh.
In the direct line, Artaxerxes IV is the only one there.
Yeah, that's iffy. That's not very secure.
Yeah, so things are a bit shaky.
Is this the end of the Achaemenids? Is it happening? Or is it?
We'll find out. It might not be. But again, another last bit, and maybe the most serious one, is that, well, the Greeks were getting uppity again. And under Artaxerxes III, they'd shut up because, oh no, the empire is resurgent. Everything is scary. Let's not threaten
I mean,
them.
credit to Artaxerxes III. Like, he worked on that. He made sure that they would stop.
Yeah, definitely. He made sure all the correct threats and all the correct friendships to ensure that they didn't harass his kingdom anymore. But now with Artaxerxes IV, well, you have a young, inexperienced king that is pretty manifestly a puppet, so that's easier to attack. And the Greek cities start mumbling again. They start arguing. They start trying to see what happens.
Oh dear.
And also, in the same year Artaxerxes IV is crowned, Philip of Macedon, who had been thinking about attacking Artaxerxes III,
Right?
won a crushing victory against a league of Greek cities and annihilated the Theban army, destroying the sacred band.
Oh my god. No, wait, really?
Yes.
Oh no, my heart.
There are a lot of sad accounts about the sacred band, who was made entirely of 150 pairs of lovers, where just everybody is distraught at the end of the battle because they either weren't able to save their beloveds or because they survived and their beloved didn't. And it's all very sad.
That's awful. My heart is breaking now. And I know that like Thebes had been trying to be the power in Greece, and like Philip had been like, hey, I'm the newest runner-up on the race. I'm actually becoming more powerful and such and such and such. We talked about this last episode, but I have a soft spot for the Theban army.
Yeah, it's also kind of sad when you think that, these are real people.
Yeah.
The whole deal was that they were fighting with people they loved, and well, now more than half of them are dead. That's what happens,
right? You fight until you don't anymore. Like, if your career is as a soldier, there's a very big chance you will die in battle, so... Undefeated until no more.
Yeah, undefeated until Philip came and made sure they were.
I guess we had the foreshadowing of Philip becoming very powerful recently, and I guess we'll get to see how that affects the empire now.
We'll get to see very, very soon, because Philip basically creates the League of Corinth, which is essentially a whole coalition of all the Greek city-states that are now subjected to Macedon. And he tells all of them, okay, remember that invasion of the Achaemenid Empire we talked about?
Right.
We're doing this now. We're forming a grand coalition of all the Greeks.
Yeah, because he refused last time. So...
Yeah, he mostly saw Artaxerxes. He was thinking about it, but then, you know, Artaxerxes III was there, so he said, maybe not.
Maybe not. They're regaining their strength. Oof.
Yeah, but now the strong king is gone and the weak king is there, so Philip prepares a grand army and ensures that, well, it's unclear exactly what his precise plans were, but, at least the Greek cities in Anatolia should go in his sphere of influence, and, well, who knows what more he can gain. Depends how the war goes. So Philip, he doesn't go directly. So he sends his loyal general Parmenion with about 10,000 soldiers into Asia Minor. And he sends them all over there and tries to recruit the support of all the Greek city-states in the area.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like as Philip's army passes by, all these Greek city-states, one by one, open their gates to the Macedonian army and join this league.
Right.
So things are not going ideally.
Yeah.
So these forces move around. They start besieging a series of some of the more strongly held Achaemenid cities. And Artaxerxes IV tries to organize some sort of response. He sends a bunch of different Greek mercenaries under Memnon of Rhodes against this force, but they're not doing great. They're mostly just holding them back in some places, but they can't push them back.
Right.
So they can sort of block certain areas, but not do very much.
Buy time, but not get rid of
Yeah, they're buying time until a more serious response can be organized. Because also, we're not really sure how strongly should we respond to this, because they've been doing this for 150 years. Should we worry this time?
Yeah.
Should we not?
Here they are again.
How bad is it?
Yeah.
Also, Artaxerxes IV is in court, and probably Bagoas doesn't want his puppet to get too far away from his strings, because that could be dangerous for him. That's always an issue you need to contend with. So, at this point, we get to 336, where Philip himself is getting ready to invade the empire. He has prepared a large extra expeditionary force that he's going to send to join Parmenion and then strike decisively at the key cities in Asia Minor. So,
all right,
things are not great. And not only that, Philip has secured an alliance with the kingdom of Epirus, which is to the west of Macedon, by marrying his daughter to the king of Epirus.
Oh, okay.
And they have a large wedding celebration during which they announce the launching of this expedition into Asia to destroy, or at least crush the Achaemenid Empire. And it is at this point where Philip is stabbed to death. At the celebration.
Excuse me? Wait. What? All right, so we're getting rid of him, like, immediately. If he's the problem, then... Was it the Achaemenids? Like, was it... Or was someone else?
Well...
Oh my goodness, the drama.
That's the question.
In a wedding? Are you kidding me? Oh, God.
Yeah, it's nice. It's very good. Because the murderer of Philip was a man in the court who had a reason to dislike Philip for personal issues, but was killed immediately after Philip's murder by the bodyguards, so there was no possibility of questioning him. And there are a few possibilities for who killed Philip. One option is that it was some internal thing, that there was some internal politics going on.
Right.
Philip angered the wrong people. Poof. The alternative option, and the one that some Macedonians claimed quite strongly, is that the Achaemenid king's 10,000 archers, his many, many coins, had found their way into the pocket of somebody who didn't like Philip very much anyway, and was promised a getaway horse.
Listen, I love this because obviously, like, from the point of view of the Persian Empire and from, like, you know, our narration, it would make sense because we're in trouble because he is powerful and dangerous. And if we get him out of the way, maybe this effort will not go as planned because, you know, he has a lot to say or a lot of say on how to organize it. That's why he's successful. And if you get rid of him, then maybe even though the armies are there, things will not go as smoothly. Like, it makes sense for us, right? Lucky for us, he died. But
yeah, definitely.
I don't think, like, it also makes perfect sense for the Macedonians and the Greek to say it was their enemy, the Achaemenids, you know. Like, of course.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely convenient for them, but also it's not like the Achaemenids haven't paid to murder people before.
Yeah. It is absolutely plausible. I'm just saying it might not be the truth because, of course, they're going to blame the Persians for it. But also, if they did, but you know, this common situation where you say a stereotype and the person goes, how very dare you? That is so offensive. And how could you say that about me? I mean, you're right, but that doesn't give you the right to say it.
Yes, fair enough. Yeah, I think that's the situation. You know, it could be that Artaxerxes IV decided to murder Philip and get rid of the scary expedition.
How dare you blame us for it? But also, yes, I mean, of course we would. But how dare you blame us for it?
Yeah, so it might have been just some internal politics thing, and well, it was convenient for the people around there to say, no, but it wasn't us. It was someone else far, far away. Don't look here, don't investigate.
Let's go to war with the Achaemenids, because, you know.
Yeah. On the bright side, now that Philip is dead, we have that he is succeeded by his inexperienced 20-year-old son.
Right.
So there's a succession crisis there, and it'll take a while for Macedonia to stabilize.
And we're on the same grounds. Yeah.
Yeah, so over in Asia, we can deal with stuff. And also, this means that Philip's expeditionary force in Asia Minor now is strongly demoralized. Because they heard, oh wait, Philip is dead? Philip isn't joining us?
Oh no,
So what are we doing here?
Yeah, exactly.
What's happening?
That's what I thought. It's he had a lot of control over this operation, and with him gone, I mean, it could still be successful, but he was a big part of it, so...
Yeah, it could, but it doesn't have the leader, and now there's a succession crisis, and now all the Greek city-states are sort of rebelling against Macedon.
Yeah.
And...
That's bad.
What are we doing here in Asia? Should we go back and help? Should we stay here and keep the cities we have? What are we doing? And in this indecision, Artaxerxes' commander, Memnon of Rhodes, who's, by the way, the brother of the commander of the Greek mercenaries in Egypt.
Right.
Memnon of Rhodes has a great army and goes and smashes the Macedonians at Magnesia.
Okay.
Thus securing Asia and ensuring that, well, the invasion force isn't strong anymore. They're scattered. They're not entirely destroyed, but, you know, they're sort of melting away trying to regroup.
They might think about it twice before trying, and therefore it's not that much of a problem anymore.
Yeah, exactly. And now they're getting letters from home saying, hey, the situation's kind of bad.
Help.
Can you help, please?
Come back.
So, awesome. Artaxerxes IV is now safe and secure. But then he gets to thinking. Bagoas is always over my shoulder, and Bagoas killed my father and all my brothers.
Oh, he knows. So it wasn't a secret.
Whether it was a secret at the beginning or not, it's unclear, but Artaxerxes figured it out by this point.
Oh, right. Because at that point, I would just execute him.
Well, the problem is that Artaxerxes doesn't feel safe because, well, if Bagoas was able to organize the murder of one king...
That's right.
What's gonna happen?
Yeah, actually, yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah,
Oh.
And Artaxerxes is a young man, and he doesn't know who the captain of the guard is loyal to. He doesn't know if he can just order to arrest Bagoas. Is this something he can do?
Oh, heck. Yeah.
So he's feeling insecure and worried of his position. So he starts to send some feelers out, trying to send like, hey, so what do you think about Bagoas? Do you think he's a cool guy or, you know?
Cross out on this note. Do you like Bagoas? Yes, no. Maybe.
Yes, no, maybe. And so he sends around some notes and, he tries to get some support. He hears back from some people. He doesn't hear back from some other people.
Uh-huh.
That's concerning.
Great.
Oh dear. So one day, while Artaxerxes is having a nice, refreshing cup of wine,
Oh, God.
has a drink,
Oh, no.
coughs,
Oh, God.
coughs some more,
All right, well,
and then he falls down
that's the
dead.
episode, folks. Come back next week for more.
And so from the shadows, Bagoas comes out and says, well, I think I should get a more malleable puppet next time.
Well,
This one didn't work out.
but like, what is Bagoas going to do now? There's no king anymore. What?
That is exactly Bagoas' reasoning, because Bagoas says that Artaxerxes IV, well, his legitimacy was based on being the son of a king, the grandson of the king, the great-grandson of another king, and so on. It would be much easier to control somebody who has no legitimacy whatsoever, and is only in control because Bagoas says so.
But how are you going to choose someone to do that? Like, that's the whole problem.
Well,
finding the person, like, because at that point, just be king yourself. Like, if you don't care about heirs anymore.
Well, if he weren't a eunuch, he'd probably do that, but he can't. Nobody would accept this. So he can only rule through puppets. So he goes up the family tree. Artaxerxes III, no sons. Artaxerxes II, no sons. Darius II, he has many descendants. That was like 100 years ago, with concubines and multiple
where the
wives.
hell are they? Nobody knows.
There are dozens of different minor Achaemenids spread across the empire. Some are satraps, some are different commanders, some are governors of other sorts, some are just regular nobles.
One of them is a baker. I don't know how that happened.
Could be. Happens. So Bagoas has his pick among all these dozens of princelings that he can just choose to rule. Now, last time, I told you to remember Artashata.
Yes.
Right? He distinguished himself during Artaxerxes III campaign against the Caduceans.
I have his name circled in my notes.
Exactly. So Bagoas invites Artashata to court and says, "Congratulations, you're the king now."
What?
Do what I say.
What the
And
hell?
the good thing is that Artashata is just a minor provincial governor. He was just important because Artaxerxes III gave him a satrapy because he was brave that one time.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, he's extremely easy to manipulate, has no contacts in court. Perfect for Bagoas.
That's fair, but how's he going to make him legitimate? Because, I'm not worried about Bagoas himself, because he has the support, but, like, how are you going to make this roll with,
Well, Bagoas doesn't need to. Bagoas just needs everybody to understand, yes, this is my man.
All right.
Everybody that's with me, accept this guy as king. He'll do what we say.
Whoa.
And Artashata chooses a new name as king and calls himself, well, his last ancestor that was king is called Darius. So he'll be Darius III.
Oh, no. Okay.
And that's what we'll hear about next week.
Excellent. Oh my goodness, this was way too quick.
There wasn't much about Artaxerxes. Oh, also, full disclosure. We're not sure if Philip died before or after Artaxerxes IV, because we just know the general year of Artaxerxes IV. So I just put it that way, because otherwise we'd have nothing to talk about. But it could have been during Darius III's reign. It's unclear, but hey.
it's still
We'll
unstable.
talk
So
more about it next time.
my god,
It's still roughly in the same period.
Bagoas,
but
what the hell? Well, I am drawing you today because
I mean, Bagoas is a lot, yeah. Yeah, he's a very interesting person. But yeah.
Yeah, no, clearly,
we'll see.
clearly. Wow, the manipulation. I'm sad we're not ranking him, and we're ranking Artaxerxes III.
We can see if to put him in a VIP seat, but if you think he's worth it, we'll see. Yeah. Also, some Greek authors say that at this point, Bagoas didn't choose an Achaemenid, but this is where the Achaemenid line ended with Artaxerxes IV because there were no more descendants. That's less likely, but at least the main Achaemenid line has been interrupted for the first time since Bardia.
Yeah.
So there we go.
But we're still, like, Darius III will still count as an Achaemenid, right? Same descent.
He does. Yeah, again, some Greeks say that he's only pretending to be an Achaemenid, but in practice, he's probably is.
That's why Bagoas chose
along
him,
with
right?
all the dozen other people.
Yeah, we haven't started a new dynasty yet, so...
Nah, that's fine.
All right. That's fine.
Okay, so are you ready to rate Artaxerxes IV for all we know of him?
Let's do it.
Okay. So, first category is final moments. How interesting was his death? Poisoned by Bagoas for being too independent.
A bit derivative. We've seen it before.
Yeah,
not so original.
Could have advanced,
Family
even Paracelsus
tradition.
Only used the ash room a certain amount of times and then changed, but
surprisingly
Bagoas
quick.
could have improved.
So there was that. But yeah, nothing out of the ordinary. Sadly, I mean, out of the ordinary in the sense that it is not out of the. Bagoas really be out there.
We had a stable empire like one king ago. Now we've had a king just murdered.
Yep.
But yeah.
I'd say a 1.
I think final moments. I'm going for like a 1 or a 2. I'm not terribly impressed. It's like, yeah, it's derivative method of murder. He was murdered, but we don't get an especially interesting scene out of it. I'd say a 2, maybe?
I'd say a 1. So.
A 1. Okay, fair enough. So with a 2 and a 1 for final moments, we get 1.5 out of 10. Next category is battle hardness. How good was he at fighting? Well, he did something. I mean, under Memnon of Rhodes, he managed to first sort of hold back the Macedonians and then defeat them at Magnesia. So that's pretty good.
Oh yeah, that happened.
Nothing incredible, but there weren't many things to remember. How could you forget?
Well, because there wasn't that much happening anyway.
Fair. But yeah, so battle hardness, something. I think I'm also hovering around a 2. Not too much, though.
I'd say a 1 for that one battle.
Again.
Did he actually
fair enough.
fight in it?
Probably not. He was...
Yeah, then, a 1 seems fine.
It was explicitly under another general, so there we go. Yeah, okay, fair enough. So 2 and 1 for battle hardness gives us a 3 out of 20, which is very low. It's just above what Bardia got, so that's embarrassing.
Bardia was more interesting than this.
Yeah, fair enough.
At least he was strong.
Okay, next category is scheminess. How good was he at plots and all that?
Good at being part of one. Apparently terrible at saving himself, so 0.
Yeah, I mean, he tried to make a plot against Bagoas and failed miserably.
Yeah, that was just bad. That was bad decisions.
Yeah.
Bad decisions. Also, maybe he murdered Philip, but also we don't know. So
yeah, maybe he murdered Philip, but we're not sure. Do you want to give him a token point for that?
No, I think with the 1 would be enough.
Yeah, fine. So 0s and 0s.
Yep.
0 and a 0 for scheminess gives him a 0 out of 20. Next category is shock factor. How shocking was this man?
Not at all.
He
really thought,
and
he really thought he could take care of Bagoas that way, which
yeah, he thought he could outsmart the man who outsmarted his father.
Yeah, that's more brave fool. Him.
Yeah, it's not. No, I don't think I can give him anything. So I think a 0 as well. How about you?
Yep.
So 0 and 0, shock factor, 0 out of 20.
Sorry, Artaxerxes.
There's a reason why Darius III didn't choose the name Artaxerxes V.
Yeah. Oh, now we have a reason. I see.
Yeah, now we've shifted. Okay, next category is Aaron Shine. How good was he for the Empire?
I mean, he
I think
stopped
he
that
did
one.
something.
Yeah,
Could have
that
been
one
worse,
rebellion that
yeah.
could have been really bad didn't happen because of that couple of
Yeah,
battles and because of Philip passing. So
Yeah, he stopped the invasion of Macedon, which was pretty good. Before and after him, the Empire is pretty much the same, except partially because of him, the Achaemenid line is cancelled.
right.
The main Achaemenid line is gone, and we have our next king is going to be somebody with barely any legitimacy to his name.
Yeah.
And Bagoas firmly in control.
But that's also because
So that's not great. But yeah, so I'm not willing to give him too much, but I'm not willing to be too harsh. I think somewhere between a 2 and a 3, because he efficiently protected the Empire, him and Bagoas as his minister, but he also
Yeah, no,
collapsed
he
the
should get
legitimacy.
some token
Yeah.
for that Greek rebellion that didn't happen and such and such.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah, I think I'm going for like a 2 or something, because he is...
Yeah.
Because he responded effectively, but, could have been better.
I mean, he didn't really have time. I'll give him a 3. You know what? Like.
Okay, nice. Fair enough. So 2 and a 3 gives him a 5 out of 20 for Aaron Shine. Next category is Face of Faces. What do you think this man looked like?
I'm working on it.
Nice. So we'll soon see what Serial thinks of poor old Artaxerxes IV, nicknamed Arses.
I'm being very literal. But listen, I can't spend hours on this. So.
Okay, so Serial has sent me their drawing. Let me pick it up so I can see what Artaxerxes IV looks like. Fair.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay.
That's all I got for today's episode,
is very
folks.
good, yes. I love it, though. It's perfect. So what we have, dear listeners, is an ominous dark hand coming down from above. Attached to it are several strings which go down to our poor little Artaxerxes IV, who is a tiny little Achaemenid puppet with a nice beard and hat and little maneuverable joints.
Yep.
He's just flopping around at Bagoas's control because the poor man didn't get much of a time to do anything or much of a chance. So there we go.
It
Very
happens.
nice. It'll be on the website if you want to check it out, and please do, because it's awesome. Okay, so Serial, I will now show you what he actually looks like. And this is an alleged portrait. We're not sure, but it's actually a coin portrait, which we'll be getting more and more of from now on because it's becoming a thing. So hey, cool. So here we go. There's our boy Artaxerxes IV.
Oh, okay. So something I noticed immediately, no beard, which,
Yep.
interesting. I guess
The
he
main
was
issue is that probably he was a very young man.
fairly young. Yeah,
which
that's
is
what I
why
was
it's
going to say.
presumed that
So
he was so young.
I was thinking of drawing him without a beard, but since I was drawing a puppet anyway, I figured I would go with the
puppet would have a
usual,
beard, yeah,
the
that
usual how they display kings on their reliefs and on their art. So
Yeah, pretty much.
but yeah, very interesting. It has the cute little hat that looks like a Phrygian hat with the fold on top and curly hair, and I like this. It has a really good stylization. I like this coin. It's a good coin.
Yeah, it's very nice. I also like how, it's moving away from the style that we had otherwise.
Yeah.
This is from an Anatolian satrap printing coins. So it's not the typical stylized thing. It's a bit more variety, which I quite like, honestly.
Yeah. I enjoyed this. This is very pretty. No idea if it's him, but it might be, so
It could be. It's presumably right for the period.
Yeah. All right.
We don't know.
I actually really like this.
What is your verdict?
I think it's going to be my highest score for Artaxerxes IV.
Oh, probably.
Yeah, I'll go up to, because it's contemporary and it has a really interesting style, and it's probably actually him.
Yeah, and it looks more like a person than a stylization.
Yeah, I think I'll go for
previous things we've had.
at least a 7.
I'm honestly going for an 8. I
Ooh,
think it's very
okay.
nice, very clean,
Yeah.
very well made.
Actually, yeah, you've convinced me. Let's go for an 8. I wasn't sure
Okay,
about
perfect.
it, but now I am.
Congratulations, Artaxerxes IV. You look good. So with an 8 and an 8, that is a 4 out of 5 for Face of Faces, which is the greatest score since Xerxes I. So,
Wow.
Congratulations. And then we have our final category, which is to say lengthiness. How long do you think this man reigned?
Didn't you say it was a year? Was it a year?
It was a bit more than that. It was a year and something, which I'm going to approximate with 2 years.
All right.
Because, yeah, we're not sure when exactly in 336 he died.
Uh-huh.
But came to the throne 338, so 2 years divided by 10 is 0.2 points out of 5 for lengthiness.
Yep. That tracks.
This leads us to a final score of 13.7 out of 100, which makes him the second worst ruler of all of them after Xerxes II.
Yep.
Wait,
after Xerxes II? Okay, fine.
I mean, Xerxes II did, was 40 days where he did nothing at all.
Yeah, that's
at least Artaxerxes IV did something.
Yeah. This is
not exactly
great.
the great Silver Age that Artaxerxes III was hoping for, but we'll try next time with Darius III and see if that does any better.
It's interesting
Hopefully
how,
will.
after all that he did and all the things that he figured out, Artaxerxes III, that is, he overlooked Bagoas.
Yeah, he thought he could trust him, and that's why being king is dangerous.
Indeed.
You can be as powerful as you want, but poison will always get you.
Unless you're paranoid like Parysatis and make yourself invulnerable to it by having a small dose every day because you know that people hate you. And
Yeah, I think there was, what was it? I think it was when the IRA was trying to assassinate Margaret Thatcher, they wrote a letter saying, we have to be lucky only once, you have to be lucky every time.
That is, yeah.
Which I think fits for being
fair.
a king. So there we go. But that doesn't exclude one final point, which is to say, was Artaxerxes IV fascinating enough, puppety enough, and something else, probably,
Are you
to
being
be called a
serious right now?
Shahanshah?
Are you
or
being
is he just a Shahanah?
Yeah, I'm not even gonna make the joke. Like, Of course not. Of course not. But Bagoas gets to have a seat because,
Do you want to put Bagoas in the VIP section with Megabyzus and Parysatis?
Obviously. Not for the same reasons. Like, I don't like him. But all of this is his fault. So,
Okay, very nice. So, Artaxerxes IV, you can go back to Artaxerxes II and tell him that things are better, but not as good. So, you can chat in the desert for that.
Yeah.
While Bagoas can get his nice VIP seat where he can exchange murder tips with Parysatis. So, that'll be fun.
Yeah, Artaxerxes IV can just comment to his dad and his siblings that he got to last, a year and a half, a bit more.
I was so uninfluential that historians aren't really sure when I died. That was my imprint on the world.
Oh my goodness.
All right, and that is all for today's shorter episode. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you have, please remember to review us wherever it is possible to review us. If you want to follow us on social media, Twitter, Facebook, we post stuff if you're interested. And
indeed we do.
See about new episodes. And so join us next time for the episode on Darius III, where we'll see how long does Bagoas manage to continue ruling? How many kings will he go through? Does Darius III actually amount to anything? Let's see what happens.
Yeah, tune in and find all of our information as always in the notes and on the website. Thanks for making it all the way through the episode. It wasn't very long, but hopefully we'll have some more for you next week. And take care. Bye.
Yeah, take care. Have a nice day. Bye.